I'm Agnieszka Bourbon, and I am a relationship expert for women. I'm also known as the lasting love expert. Today, I'd like to share with you 5 tips, 5 things you need to know to survive and thrive as a highly sensitive person. Number 1, recognize and own them. So first things first, we actually need to recognize what sensitivities we have and how we work. So for example, I have always been super sensitive to sound, not to mention all the other things like light, smell, perfume, etc., etc. But sound especially has played a huge role in my life. I've never recognized this sensitivity as an integral part of me. I, in fact, was thinking that it was a burden. It was a burden, it was a nuisance. Why? Because that was the feedback I was getting from people. I was not listening to myself, I was listening to what people were telling me and the feedback they were giving me. So for example, if I asked someone to stop talking because I could hear the sound at home, I needed quiet in the bedroom, or I could hear the TV on in the background or the radio, I would ask people to turn it off and they would say, but this is a normal sound level. That's how I came to the conclusion that, it's a burden. My sensitivity is a burden. I have a little story for you, in fact, because I'm a relationship expert. So this is a story from my love life. In my last relationship, which, as you can guess, didn't work out, I was trying to put a label on my sensitivities. Back then, I didn't know I was an empath. I had no idea I was a highly sensitive person and an empath, and I was calling it GP surgery, asking them for an assessment. I wanted someone to put a label on it. I wanted them to say, maybe you're an autistic, or maybe there's something else, something wrong with you. And I was hoping that once I've got a label, my ex-boyfriend would understand my needs. Wrong. He never did, and he wouldn't have. Because it's not about the label. It's about surrounding yourself with people who accept you just as you are, and first things first, accepting yourself just the way you are and owning your sensitivities. Tip number 2, meet your needs yourself first. This is very important because we cannot expect other people to meet our needs if we first don't recognize and then don't attempt to meet our own needs first. Why? Because when you meet your needs first, that means that you're putting yourself first. If you're putting yourself first, it means you're treating yourself seriously, and that means that other people will be treating you seriously as well. For example, my current partner, who is, by the way, wonderful, at some point he told me he was not sure whether he wanted to actually go ahead with our decision to build more walls into the house, which I knew would help tremendously. It would reduce the sound levels. And at that time, I was very stressed and it was affecting me. And I said to him, honey, that's perfectly fine. Whatever you decide, I will respect your decision. However, if you happen to decide, against the walls, I will have to take care of myself and come up with a solution because my mental health is my number one priority. I said I would probably have to book into a hotel or eventually get my own flat. Guess what happened? Very quickly, he decided that he is more than happy to get the builders into the house and get a couple of walls built. And I've never been happier. I'm very calm. There's no sound in the house. Why? Because others respect us so much more and our needs so much more when we treat ourselves seriously and respect our needs. Tip number 3, learn to speak about your needs. Speak up, use your voice. I would not expect other people to guess what your needs are. It's essential, and for every empath or highly sensitive person, it is a struggle at the beginning we are not used to speaking up and expressing our needs. And you know what? We can't, as much as there is lots of magic in the world, we can't expect people to read our minds. So it's essential. Tip number 4, set up very strong boundaries. Very strong boundaries. I had to learn it the hard way. I will give you one example. When I was dating, that was before I met my current partner. And when I was dating guys, I was so not used to speaking up and making requests. And there were a lot of them actually were going back to my sensitivities and to my need. I cannot be too long with someone new, especially someone bubbly, and I'm very sensitive to sound. And when I need my switch off time in the evening, my alone time, I need my alone time. Otherwise, it's going to, I'm going to suffer. I remember I invited this man round my flat and we were having dinner, and prior to the date, we agreed that he would say good night. After dinner, he would go, right? And then it was getting late and it was, getting close to midnight and he was still around. I was so tired. And, I left it till late. Even though we did agree he would go and not spend the night in my flat, clearly, for him, with him, I needed to restate my boundary, to speak up louder, metaphorically, meaning just reinforce my boundary. And when this happens, because it seems very often that people push our boundaries, it's not that people push our boundaries. When people do that, because people always sense how far it could go, it's just an invitation for us to practice our voice and strengthen our boundaries. Number 5, get to know your needs and protect your energy. Once you get to know what needs, what sensitivities you have, you really need to protect your energy in everyday life. So for example, when I go to a party, I usually am totally saturated in terms of fun and social life and everything after 2-3 hours. So after 3 hours maximum, I'm ready to go home. I'm tired, I'm ready to go home. And sometimes like peer pressure can happen. In the past, I would have probably stayed against my own needs and sensitivities. I would have been too worried to, disappoint someone. These days, I would simply smile and say good night and leave and take care of my needs. So protecting your energy every day is hugely important.